Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Over My Dead Pod. I'm your host for today, Kylie Caldwell.
This is Kate Carter.
And I'm Holly Spear.
Today, I'm bringing you guys a sort of sequel to Holly's latest episode on Beverly Carter. It's episode 75. If you haven't listened yet, go ahead, pause, listen, and then come back. The reason I want you to listen to that episode first is because there are a lot of similarities, like a real estate agent murdered while showing a home, but there are some big differences, mainly the sophistication in the perpetrators. And this is the unsolved murder of Lindsay Buziak in Victoria, Canada. So Lindsay was a 24-year-old new and budding real estate agent in Victoria, working for a Remax franchise in the town. Also working at the same place was her boyfriend and mortgage broker Jason Zalo, whose mom Shirley was the manager of the office. Lindsay's dad was also a real estate agent back in her hometown of Calgary, so it's just a family business all around. Everyone's real estate agents. Lindsay's parents divorced when she was young, but she was still super close to the both of them and her sister Sarah. Her relationship with Jason was also seemingly going super well. They had met in a study group while preparing to become licensed agents and continued to thrive. They're both selling a lot of high-dollar homes, driving Range Rovers and BMWs, and living in a nice condo in town. On February 1st of 2008, Lindsay received a phone call from an unknown number on her personal cell phone. The caller was a woman with what Lindsay just called a strange foreign accent. This woman said her husband was being relocated to Victoria for his job and they needed a house ASAP, like in 3 days. Lindsay wrote down in her notebook the phone number that called along with what they were looking for. This couple had a budget of $1 million. They wanted at least a 3-bed, 3-bath home with a large master bedroom and a separate area for a live-in housekeeper. Most importantly, they wanted a brand new home, preferably vacant when they go to look at it, so it would be easier to just move in straight away. Lindsay was already getting weird vibes. She asked the woman how she got her personal cell phone number because all of her professional things like the signs outside, her business cards, and the profile on the website only listed her work number, and she had never given her personal phone number to clients. The woman on the other end was like, "Oh, this previous client you work with recommended you." And so all the reports kept bringing up this previous client, but they never gave a name. But they do say that Lindsay did reach out to this previous client or attempted to, but this client never got back to her that they were on vacation. But Lindsay told her boyfriend Jason about the weird call and talked about how it made her uneasy. She wasn't sure if she was going to take them on as a client or not. Jason reassured her, though. He reminded her that just the month before, Lindsay was wary of taking another client and ended up selling them a $900,000 home. Jason also told her, like any other showing, if she wanted to, he would join or he could wait outside for comfort and security. Ultimately, Lindsay decided to accept, and she began looking for houses for this couple. She ended up speaking on the phone with them 6 times, and she emailed them a few listings. After some back and forth, the couple settled on a house they wanted to go look at, 1702 De Souza Place. Because the couple needed to move ASAP, they asked to see the house the very next day, and preferably later in the day since they needed to take the ferry over from Vancouver. Lindsay scheduled the showing for 5:30 p.m. on February 2nd, a Saturday. So the day came and started off pretty normal. Both Lindsay and Jason were working and running errands, a typical weekend for real estate agents. Lindsay went into the Remax office to prepare for the showing and talked with the receptionist about it, reiterating how nervous she was. Lindsay asked the receptionist to search the phone number they used in their database, but nothing came up. Here's the thing, she never told Jason, the receptionist, anybody else, the names of this couple, which is odd, but we'll get back to that. Later in the day, Lindsay and Jason met up for a late lunch, and credit card receipts showed Jason paid their lunch bill at a restaurant called Sauce at 4:24 p.m. They talked about their plans for the rest of the day and the showing. Jason once again offered to join Lindsay for it, and at first she said no. But eventually she agreed, and she said he could wait outside in his car. So the plan was, after lunch, Lindsay would go back to her condo, change her clothes, and pack a few things for a bachelorette party she was going to go to in Vancouver immediately after the showing. Meanwhile, Jason had to bring some documents to an auto shop. He was selling some property for the owner, and afterwards he was going to pick up his friend. They were then going to go to the house, wait outside. It should only take 15 to 20 minutes, and then afterwards Jason and his friend were going to go grab some drinks and play hockey. After paying the bill, Jason went to the auto shop called SHC Auto Graphics and Tires, which was basically right down the street. The security footage from the shop showed him arriving at 4:29 p.m. While he's going over these papers, Lindsay went home to change and headed to the house, which is on the other side of the town in a neighborhood called Saanich. By 5:30 p.m., Jason was wrapping up and his friend met him at the shop. They hopped into Jason's Range Rover and he typed in the address into the navigation system, but the house wouldn't pull up. Jason called Lindsay, assuming he had the wrong address, and she gave him the correct one. And then she cut the conversation short, saying, quote, "Oh, I've got to go. They're here," end quote. While on the way, Jason texted updates, saying he'll be there in like 10-15 minutes. Okay, now I'm about 5 minutes away. Lindsay did respond to one text with, quote, "Okay, I'll see you in a bit. I gotta go. The Mexicans are here," end quote. So the Mexicans was Lindsay's code name for the couple. She also like wrote down in her notebook and told the receptionist she called them like $1 million a few times. I don't think it's a race thing. I think that's just what she thought the accent was on the phone.
Which is a race thing.
Maybe, but I'm still hung up on the fact, okay, she didn't tell anyone their names.
Yeah.
I want to know if she ever asked them what their names were. Like, I feel like you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if she did, how did they like evade the question? I don't know.
She totally knew. She had to have asked their names. Maybe, I mean, if they were of Mexican descent or Hispanic descent, maybe they told her their names and for some reason she just couldn't remember them. And so that's why she had nicknames for them, I guess.
It makes more sense. Anyways, Jason last texted Lindsay at 5:38 p.m. saying he was just a couple minutes away. Lindsay never opened this message, but he wasn't too concerned. She was in the middle of the showing. He and his friend arrived at the cul-de-sac at 5:40 with the sun setting. So this cul-de-sac is pretty short. There's only like 4 houses, and the one Lindsay was showing was the first one on the left, right on the corner. Jason saw Lindsay's black BMW parked in the driveway, but no other car in the driveway or on the street. He pulled into the driveway at first and saw a shadow of a man through the glass panes along the front door. He was like, oh, they just started. They're right in the foyer. Maybe they got a late start. He didn't want to like freak them out or annoy Lindsay. So he backed up his car and then parked it on the street outside of the cul-de-sac, but still in view of the house. Jason waited for about 10 more minutes before sending another text, which also went unopened. By now, he's thinking something's up. Showings don't take that long, and yeah, Lindsay wouldn't be super available to answer calls or texts, but after this long and knowing he was outside, she would have given an update. So Jason drove back up to the house and went to the front door and found out that it was locked. He could see Lindsay's heels that she took off right inside of the door. He knocked and knocked, but there was no answer. When a house is put up for sale, they have these like lock boxes on the door, and you can insert a code, and then if you have the right code, the little box will open, and then there's the keys to the house. The lockbox was open and empty, which meant that Lindsay had the keys with her inside. So he called the phone number of the listing agent on the sign outside in the yard, but there was no answer. He called his mom to see if she could get another phone number. I think his plan was to find someone who knew the passcode to open the garage door, but he never received a call in time. So instead, he called 911 at 6:05 p.m., explaining what was going on and asking for help to basically break into the house. Jason's friend had gone around back and found something interesting. At the time, the new neighborhood was still under construction, and the backyard of this house had a tall wooden fence surrounded by tall trees. Now, if you look at the house on Google Earth, there's like another house in the backyard, but the friend saw through the gap in the fence that the back door off of the patio was open. Jason ran around to the back and told the 911 operator that they were going to get into the house that way, and he hung up. Jason hoisted his friend over the fence. The friend then went into the house, unlocked the front door, and Jason entered. He called out for Lindsay, and there was no answer, and he kept calling for her as he ran up to the second floor. There in the master bedroom, along the far wall, was Lindsay lying on her back in a pool of blood. Jason immediately checked for her pulse and began CPR, while his friend called 911 again. Police arrived almost immediately since they were already on the way following the first call. Once in the master bedroom, Lindsay was pronounced dead. So it was determined that Lindsay had been stabbed multiple times. The exact amount has not been released, but most reports say between 10 and 15. The police haven't released much about the physical attack, only that she did not have any defensive wounds and likely was stabbed in the back to incapacitate her. She also had no signs of sexual assault, and the medical examiner attributed her death to blood loss occurring at approximately 5:40 p.m., which is about the same time that Jason pulled into the driveway, which is a terrifying thought.
Yeah, so that's just like bad timing. So unfortunate.
Records from Lindsay's phone showed that at 5:41 p.m., Lindsay's phone pocket dialed someone. This person, who wasn't someone Lindsay regularly talked to, said she heard muffled sounds on the other line and hung up, assuming it was a pocket dial. Investigators determined it was. Lindsay's BlackBerry was in her pocket when she was found. It was likely that the person on the other line heard the blood gurgling out, which is also terrifying.
Ooh, that is, yeah.
While investigators were processing the house, others were canvassing the neighborhood for witnesses. Two separate witnesses reported at 5:28 p.m. that they saw a man and a woman greet Lindsay in the driveway and walk into the house. They didn't see any cars other than Lindsay's or where the couple walked from. They described the man as Caucasian, dark hair, about 6 foot tall, and wearing a brown coat or blazer. They said the woman was 35 to 45 years old, and she had a short, shoulder-length blonde, like bob. This woman stood out because of the dress she was wearing, a distinctive pencil dress with black, pink, and white squiggles. Police did track down the exact dress and have released photos of it in order to aid in the investigation. Police also did release a sketch of the woman, who the witnesses had a better look at. But the sketch is, I don't want to say bad, but it's not good.
I don't think it's terrible, but it's not, I mean, it's not great. And also, I don't understand why it's like a side profile.
Why is I've never really seen a side profile as a sketch.
Well, I'm assuming these people are in their houses. I don't know.
Maybe saw her from the side.
I guess.
Okay. Makes more sense.
Anyways, they released a sketch and the descriptions to the public as the investigation continued. They found out that the lockbox on the front door logged that it was unlocked at 5:29 p.m., matching up with the witnesses' report of seeing everyone out front a minute before. So mind you, the medical examiner put Lindsay's time of death at 5:40, or within a few minutes of that. And since the murder took place upstairs, it's likely that until everyone got up there, it seemed like a normal showing throughout the first floor. The police's theory is that when Jason pulled into the driveway at 5:40 and saw the figure through the glass of the front door, it wasn't them just getting started, it was actually the killers getting ready to leave out the front door. The killers most likely saw Jason and abandoned that plan and leaving out the back door instead. Police did use a dog to track scents on the scene, but there was no lead past the backyard fence, leading them to believe the killers got into a car parked onto the other street, which adds up with them just walking up to the house. Further processing of the house revealed absolutely nothing. No foreign DNA, no unknown fingerprints, no murder weapon, nothing. So the Saanich Police Department, who had seen nothing like this before, quickly realized they were dealing with a set of killers who had done this before, and possibly professionals. The news of the horrific murder shocked the small community of Victoria, and police were definitely feeling the pressure to find the killers as soon as possible. A week after her murder, a memorial service was held to lay Lindsay Buziak to rest. In the obituary posted, Lindsay's family described that her, quote, zest for life was contagious and that many dear friends she met along her journey were a testament to her generous and caring spirit. She exuded warmth, had a keen sense of fashion, an infectious laugh, and a smile that lit up a room, end quote. The obituary also thanks the Saanich Police Department for their efforts in bringing justice and included information to submit helpful tips. At the Ukrainian Catholic Memorial, instead of flowers, guests were asked to donate to the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia or the Canadian Cancer Society in her honor. Over 800 people attended, not only including friends and family, but other local real estate agents and complete strangers. Close friends and family spoke about how Lindsay impacted their lives and how tragic her murder was. When her father Jeff spoke, he said, quote, if there's anyone here who had anything to do with this horrible act, please come up to the front right now. This will be your only chance for forgiveness, end quote. The room went immediately silent, but no one stepped forward.
Like, what if someone just walked up?
The drama?
Yeah.
The drama? The investigation continued, and the next task for investigators was to track down the phone used to call Lindsay. Of course, it was a burner phone, but they were able to find out that it was purchased in Vancouver several months before the murder. The phone had only ever been used to call Lindsay, and it was deactivated shortly after the murder and had not been used since. The phone was activated under the name Paulo Rodriguez, a name police are pretty certain is fake. This was a pretty meticulous job. The killers wouldn't use their real name, at least you would think. It was also registered to a business address in Vancouver, but police are also pretty certain this address was chosen at random and is not connected. The last activity ever logged on the phone was about 6 months after the murder when a second phone called it to check the voicemail. Investigators were also able to determine that the phone pinged on the ferry from Vancouver to Victoria the day before the murder. So if you remember earlier, the killers told Lindsay they needed to see the house later in the day because they would have to take the ferry in. So we know they were already in Victoria, which leads people to believe that they purposely wanted to see the house when it would be getting dark. They also made sure it was sudden and too good of an offer to pass up, not giving Lindsay much time to think about it. So, first question of the day. Are you guys leaning towards professional hitman or not? Because this is super well thought out. There's no evidence left behind, but stabbing someone is messy, first off, and two, very personal.
Yeah, I feel like just the fact that it is a stabbing makes me think that it's someone that knew her, not a professional job. I feel like that would be more of like something that was less messy.
Well, here's the thing is one didn't recognize the voice on the phone, which, okay, there's ways to like mask your voice or have someone else call. But when she greets these people in the driveway before the showing start, like she would recognize them.
Right.
I'm not leaning towards a hitman. I usually don't in these kind of situations in general. Like, I think these are usually just planned, targeted attacks. But I always want to know what they're getting out of this because it's not like the real estate agent comes with like money in their pocket or whatever. I also don't think it would be someone that they know because, like you said, she would realize that she knew the person as soon as she saw them.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just getting caught up on the stabbing part. Is it hard to get a gun in Canada? I don't know.
I feel like they probably have really strict rules. You have to get a certain type of license.
Mm-hmm.
Sporting and hunting rifles, air guns, and shotguns. Okay, I mean, they can get guns, but it's probably more strict than,
Yeah.
here.
I feel like it would be hard to take like a rifle on the ferry and then carry it up to the house.
Yeah, yeah. True that. So we know that she met them in the driveway.
Yes. So the neighbors saw them like greeting each other, like shaking hands, like they hadn't met before.
I mean, even if you knew somebody, you wouldn't shake their hand. So obviously that makes me pretty sure that they don't know them. That's really, really strange. Okay.
So police are leaning towards or are pretty adamant that this was a professional hit. So the next question for them to answer was who arranged it. The first person brought in was, of course, Jason Zalo. He, of course, was the first place to start, being the boyfriend, and he was also there during the murder. Jason told investigators that there were no issues in the relationship, and both of his and Lindsay's friends backed this up. However, Lindsay's dad, Jeff, told investigators and reporters that weeks before she was murdered, Lindsay visited him and told him she was thinking of leaving Jason. She allegedly said that she thought he just loved her more than she loved him, and that he could be jealous and possessive. When confronted with this, Jason claimed he had never heard of this or any sort of complaint or grudge brought up by Lindsay along those lines. Quickly, rumors spread that Jason found out that Lindsay was planning on breaking up with him and decided that if he couldn't have her, no one else could. He's the one who urged her to do the showing, and he conveniently pulled up to the house just as she died. But police pretty quickly ruled Jason out from being involved. The security footage from that auto shop he was at showed him leaving when he said he did. His phone calls and texts to Lindsay while driving to the house added up, and most importantly, there was no forensic tech evidence of him hiring someone to do this. So my biggest reason for Jason not being involved is if he hired someone to do it, or if he did it, and those witnesses, I don't know, were just completely wrong. Wouldn't you want to be as far away as possible from the crime scene, being the boyfriend, if you're arranging this?
Yes, but we also have seen so many cases of the person wanting to be involved, you know?
Yeah, that's what I
True.
was gonna say.
I
Yeah.
know, but just being like, oh, I'm out front conveniently with my friend
Yeah.
and I find her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not like inserting himself into the investigation afterwards.
Yeah. At the moment, I don't get bad vibes.
Right.
Just throwing that out there, but ask me at the end of the episode.
So Jason has been very cooperative in the investigation, aiding officers through interviews, taking and passing polygraphs. And he even did a walkthrough with the police so they could video what exactly he found. There's another Zalo family member that has come up a bunch online in comments and forums. Just to preface, I don't buy any of this. Also, I don't want to get sued. But if you look up the case, they're going to come up, so I have to talk about it. Basically, the leading Reddit theory is that Shirley Zalo was involved, Jason's mom. So the only very circumstantial evidence is that Shirley would know Lindsay's personal cell phone number. She would know which house she was showing, and she allegedly was in their condo when Lindsay got that first phone call. Don't know if that's true or not. But the theories go on and on. But the big thing that keeps coming up, especially on this website called LindsayBuziakMurder.com, is that Shirley resembles the sketch of the woman the neighbors saw. They also claim that Shirley was good friends with the developer of the neighborhood, who was there on the street an hour before Lindsay arrived, overseeing construction. But, like I said, the sketch is bad. Lindsay knows who Shirley is. Like, if she greeted her boyfriend's mom in the driveway, she would know it's her.
Yeah, there's no way. She semi resembles the sketch, okay? She does. But there's no way. As soon as she saw her, it would be completely different.
Exactly. So Shirley ended up suing the people who run that website, LindsayBuziakMurder.com, and Lindsay's dad, Jeff, for defamation in perpetrating this theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the suit, Shirley brought up evidence of harassment, threats, and stalking, both online and in real life, from the posts made on the website and by people commenting. In June of 2024, Jeff Buziak filed a countersuit to dismiss the suit on the basis that he can't control comments made by others online. And as far as I can tell, right now, both are still pending.
Pretty baseless claim to make, I feel like. So I would be pretty pissed too, but...
A year after the murder of Lindsay, Jason and Shirley were officially cleared, and police stated that no one in the family was a suspect. Which leads me to a more likely, but still crazy theory. This theory is that the cartel or a drug trafficking operation is involved. And this theory came up when the case aired on Dateline in 2010. In the episode, the Saanich Police revealed 8 weeks before her murder, Lindsay was in Calgary visiting her family for the holidays. While there, she reached out to a friend of an ex-boyfriend and ended up calling him twice. Police couldn't figure out if she ever met up with this guy or not, but they believe that she did. They also haven't named who this guy is. Some not so credible sources have names, but I'm not sure if they're correct or not, so I don't want to say it. You may be wondering, what does this have to do with the cartel? Well, only a few weeks later, on January 22nd, 2008, this friend was arrested for cocaine trafficking in what was the largest drug bust in Alberta's history. Dozens of people were arrested during this operation, from traffickers, mules, and dealers. Police have hinted that this guy Lindsay met up with was involved in some sort of way. Once the connection was made between this drug bust and Lindsay, the leading theory turned into the group arranged a hit out on Lindsay. They think that because she had contacted this guy out of the blue shortly before the bust, she was either an informant, or at least they thought she was. This guy's name that comes up a bunch just so happened to have been denied bail the same day Lindsay received that first call. He is also Hispanic. So a lot of internet rumors and theories believe it was a friend or family member of his that arranged this.
Gosh, I don't know.
I don't want to say it's like far-fetched, but I feel like a lot of things would have to come into play.
I mean, it does feel far-fetched, but nothing, I don't know, nothing feels right.
Yeah, there's like nothing else that feels better.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the worst of evils.
So police did look into this a bit and quickly ruled it out. They said she wasn't an informant, she had no known drug use, and she didn't hang out with people involved in that sort of stuff. Which I get. We all know someone from high school who has been arrested, or a couple. But what is weird about what the police said when they ruled this out is that they kind of changed their tune. Before, they were working the theory that it was a professional hit. Now, in this new report, they said that the crime scene didn't resemble any professional hit jobs, that it was too amateur and too personal. It was well planned, but amateur. So, complete opposite theory.
I wonder what made them change their mind.
I don't know if they're like learning new information or if they're like, oh, that was just wrong. I don't know.
But also, I'm not gonna lie, like when you think of stuff like this, I don't feel like using a knife is amateur, because I feel like that's kind of worse than if you used a gun. Like a gun is a quick and easy. I feel like that's what amateurs would probably think to do for, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, a knife is personal. It's also leaves a lot of error for like DNA.
Mm-hmm. Usually people, leave their own DNA when they use a knife because they cut themselves.
Right.
And it's just like way harder to do than just use a gun. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but
It takes a lot more. So basically, police have kind of circled back. And when speaking with reporters, Detective Sergeant Horsley said there was nothing in Lindsay's life to indicate she was involved in anything criminal. There was also nothing to support trouble in her relationship with Jason, trouble at work, or with anyone else in her life. Which is a good thing, but it made their job way harder. In 2020, journalist Xander Sherman led a team to interview dozens of people and petition the British Columbia Supreme Court to unseal police case notes. This petition was partially successful. A few key documents were released, but any names other than Lindsay's were blacked out. From the reports, the public found out that the police discovered that Lindsay's Facebook activity slowly declined or altogether stopped in the days leading up to her murder. From January 24th to February 3rd, she had 0 messages or notifications, which was unusual when compared to past activity records. And the investigators could not determine yet if these had been deleted or if she had just been offline. So, like, she's a young girl. This is in, like, the height of Facebook. She's on Facebook all the time. All of a sudden, it just kind of stops or it's all been deleted right before the murder.
But what could that mean? I don't understand what they think that means, though.
I guess they're assuming that it had all been deleted and that someone involved she was talking to on Facebook, but they couldn't figure out if it had been deleted or I don't know why.
Or if it just wasn't there.
Yeah, she just stopped using Facebook all of a sudden.
Okay.
But investigators changed their mind again, and in 2020 they announced that Lindsay's internet activity led them to suspect that violent criminals who she was friends with on Facebook may have been involved.
Okay,
so they're just going all over the place. So then they're either far-fetching shit or like there's lots of stuff they did not say from the beginning.
Exactly. Because they're like, oh, she has, obviously no known drug history, no criminal activity. She doesn't associate with those people, but now they're like, oh, she was friends with these people on Facebook.
Yeah. That's really annoying because I feel like it makes the public go one way and start blaming all these people who have nothing to do with it, and then they change their mind and put out, this is what we think, and then, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the hard part about police can't release much because they're investigating, but then also you have public
I'd rather them just say nothing, be like, oh, we don't think it's, gang related, or we don't think that it's targeted, or we do think it's targeted hit. Like, I feel like that kind of skews the investigation.
The biggest thing to come out of these new reports is that police identified the owners of the 2 burner phones, and their names were blacked out in the report.
Of course they were.
And there has been no news on that since. In February of 2021, police announced that they have made advancements in DNA testing, which, if you remember before, they said there was no DNA found at the scene. While it has been over 16 years since Lindsay's murder, I feel like we're getting a little bit closer. Maybe they're just still lying. I don't know. There's also a possibility that the owners of the phone that they identified could not be the killers, but are connected in some way, and that there's this big web to unravel to figure out who's involved. Lindsay's dad, Jeff, has been leading the charge to find his daughter's killers. He's organized walks, memorials, and is constantly talking about the case with the press. Jeff has even posted a $500,000 reward for the names of Lindsay's killers. Jeff has also been very critical of the Saanich Police's handling of the case and lack of resolution. In an interview, he said the police department has put up a good PR campaign. Every year, the people hear about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, yet the killers are still out there. And then this was weird. In 2021, the FBI from our good old United States joined the investigation.
So there was definitely reason for that.
I don't think a good one. Everyone was kind of pissed off about this. Jeff, Lindsay's dad, said that the former profiler and producer of the show Criminal Minds, Jim Clemente, was the one who arranged it without anyone's permission and did it for publicity for his show.
You can do that?
I guess he can just call him up and be like, hey, there's this case in Canada we have nothing to do with. Maybe you guys should investigate it?
Yeah, I'm going to say I don't believe that.
The Royal Mounted Canadian Police were also critical of the FBI joining, stating that they don't have supernatural powers or technology that they don't already have.
No, I get that. I get that. But wouldn't you think, okay, so like when you said that, the first thing that popped into my head is if the US FBI is joining, there's some connection to the US in this case.
Has lived here, has traveled here.
Right. Like there's something that they can now help because it involves over the border.
We have some kind of interest in.
Tensions are still high in Victoria, as we can see, but it seems the investigators working the case are making progress. Slowly, but still some progress. The Saanich Police Department and Jeff Buziak are still urging people with any information to come forward with more in order to close the case. Tips can be submitted online, which I'll link in the episode's blog post. Tips can also be called into the Saanich information line at 250-475-4356 or 1-888-980-1919. And that was the unsolved, but hopefully soon solved murder of Lindsay Buziak.
No, I can feel when you're about to close an unsolved case.
Kylie, I literally feel like we got nothing in that case. Like, I do not feel like I have any leads. I don't feel like the police have done anything. Like, normally I feel like we have stuff to go off of, but I feel like there oh, you know how much I hate unsolved cases.
Every potential lead you brought up just seemed way too far-fetched for me to catch on to. And maybe that's because we have limited information, obviously, but it didn't seem like anything really fit together.
Right. It seemed all far-fetched.
I feel like the police department thinks the same.
I think so, too.
16 years?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Yeah. Just because of all of, like, the potential suspect ideas that the police did release. And then the fact that over almost 20 years now, they've released more and more information or said this or that's changed, it just nothing's really fitting together. So they're either really far-fetching for information and tips and shit like that, or there's a lot of stuff they didn't say from the beginning of the case.
I tend to think that it's not that option. No. Because if you had an idea of who you thought it was at the beginning of the case, I know that happens a lot. They think they know who it is, but they don't have enough evidence to prove it. You wouldn't be switching back and forth between these very broad theories of what happened.
Exactly. Like, and the names of the people who bought the burner phones, that was released 4 years ago. But we don't know, like, it could have been a couple years before that when they actually identified them. Like, you've had all this time. What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And then nothing's come out of that. Yeah.
No.
And I feel like generally when police do release a tidbit of information way later, they're almost searching for public input to generate leads because they have nothing.
Yeah, so if anyone listening has a tip, they need it. And with that, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Over My Dead Pod. If you want even more information, including photos from the case, you can check out our blog, on overmydeadpod.com. Be sure to leave us a review wherever you're listening to this and check us out on social media at overmydeadpod. And we'll see you next week with another case. Bye.
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 Well, ladies.
We have
overtime.
We have a very exciting overtime for you guys today.
Yes.
Holly has some news.
Holly has some big news.
Big news.
And she's not pregnant.
No, Kate's got that one fixed for me. I won't be doing
Gotcha.
that for a while.
I gotcha.
Don't speak that into existence.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
I'm engaged. I'm changing my last name. And it happened this weekend. Kate and Kylie literally surprised me with the biggest surprise of my entire life. And no, I'm not engaged to them, but they
Should be.
flew all the way down to Arkansas to put together the most amazing weekend for me. I had no idea. I was completely blindsided. Some may say oblivious, perhaps. I can't thank them enough because it was amazing and everything I ever wanted it to be. And I was honestly so shocked to see them. And my birthday is next weekend. So I was thinking that they were there for my birthday, which was just the most amazing surprise in itself, just even seeing them because we haven't seen each other in 3 years. My mom surprised me, had them fly down. I walked into her house thinking that I was just coming there for my birthday dinner, which was going to be the next day. And my mom is holding little Millie Wop and Kate's baby. And I've never met Kate's baby in person. So I looked at her and I was like, oh, Millie. And then I just immediately started searching my house for Kate and Kylie. They popped out. I cried. It was amazing. And oh yeah, and the engagement. No, I'm just kidding. But then they surprised me even more the next day. I thought I was going to an event before my birthday dinner, and I was so annoyed that I had to go to an event before my dinner. And Luke's dad was in on it, and he was like, I need you guys to like stop by this thing before you go to the dinner. So we fly into this little fly-in location with a hangar, and I'm so oblivious because I just had no idea. I was really in a bad mood that I had to be there. And I walked up and there's flowers and candles, which I will say also, I am very, like, my job that I used to do, it was, and I still, go to like fundraisers and stuff sometimes just on my own time, but everything, like, that's a very common event for me to go to where there's like flowers and candles and like decorations around. So I really did not think much of it. I was just like, this is one of those fancy events. Luke's dad set it up really nice where he was like, I've got this person I want y'all to meet. He's really into planes. He's got a lot of money. And, he's having an event at this fly out location. And I told him that you guys could come and meet him. And so I'm like, okay. So the candles and like flowers and everything made sense when I was walking up. And then I think I was in denial that that's what was going on because I was like, no way. Like, I did not expect it. And then my family and friends were waiting for me in the hangar that was right beside the spot that he proposed. And it was so fun and so cute and amazing and just so perfect. And Kate, Kylie, my mom, Luke's mom, they planned it all. But Kate and Kylie flew all the way down from Florida. They were the ones that traveled the furthest. And it was so amazing. I got to see them for the first time in like 3 years since Kate's wedding. So it was the best weekend of my life.
All right, listeners.
And now they're going to drag me through
Hold on. Yeah.
After my sweet, nice little...
Yeah.
There's
some details. There's some details missing from this story. Okay, first of all, Holly, we live in Florida, so we're flying up to you, not down. But love you for that.
Oh my God, were you taking notes on what I just said? Like
you said it. You said it several times.
You said it multiple times.
I feel like that's just a saying. That's like.
But we were just, even Cameron's sitting in the room with me right now, and he's like, you fly up to her, and I was like, I know, it's fine.
And in my mind, if you're flying in a plane, you're always flying up.
You mean down?
No, that's not
God
how that
damn
works,
it.
Holly. You're not constantly flying up.
I know it.
Okay. All right. So everybody say congratulations to Holly. And if you don't, I'll find you.
Yep. If you don't, no Christmas present
You're
for
dead
you.
to us. Yep.
Yep.
Getting coal
Yep.
in your stockings.
Next time we send out stickers, don't put your name down. Just
Okay.
kidding. Just kidding. Haha. Teehee.
All right, guys.
Love y'all.
Bye.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.